Kurt, Walker, how are you doing?
Doing well. Long time coming.
Long time coming. Hey, welcome to Founders Live Conversations. This is a part of the Exploring Greatness tour that I have going on through the U.S. I'm here in Las Vegas, your hometown. It's a pleasure to chat with you, man.
Absolutely. It's good to have you. I remember the very first time we talked, I was in Puerto Rico on the beach. We were walking, we were talking, and we were like, we know we need to do some stuff together, and here we are.
Here we are. Well, we're going to get into some really cool stuff. We're going to talk about, founders, why we're so weird, investment and investors and how you kind of look at them, Las Vegas and everything about it.
Yeah.
But first, what's exciting you right now and what are you working on?
Well, I think that the thing that gets me revved up every single day is our North Star. And as a VC, as an angel, as a private equity guy, as a startup lender and funder, it's just this mission of creating more founders that go on to become funders than anybody else on earth. So founder funders is really our North Star. So in general, that's what gets me really revved up. The other thing that gets me revved up is building communities for founders. That's Fusion, building communities for angels, Angel X, building communities for family offices, that's Mainsail. And then developing the technology to streamline, simplify, and automate the fundraising process, because it's not very transparent and it's broken, I think, for the great majority of founders and even for funders. And then another thing, I guess, that's connected to all this is the Raise Summit, which we founded to help founders get depth and detail how the best in the world go out and raise capital. And we're talking people that raise $250 million a year or more in the last several years. And it's easy for them because of the experience and the mechanics and everything. So those are the things that kind of just top of my mind. But I think probably the best thing to say is just working with the most innovative minds in the world.
Yeah.
It's so exciting.
Yeah. Well, what moved you to enter into making this type of impact? Let's go back, 5-10 years or whatever, but what really instigated this for you?
So, I started off as a startup lender. I did a bunch of capital brokering, was in the private equity space, started building out loans for startups. This is over 15 years ago. And at some point, about 10 years ago, I decided, instead of doing debt, instead of, giving loans to small businesses and some startups, why don't I come over to the private side and actually start being a VC? I thought it would be sexy. I thought it'd be really fun. It's not sexy. It is fun. It's fun in a beat your head against the wall, very difficult kind of thing. And I started to see as a fund, as we're raising money for a fund, and we had quite a track record with some of the things that we had done before, investing in energy, whatever. I came to realize how challenging it was even for funds to raise. And I actually think in many regards it's harder to raise for a fund than for a founder. So here's looking at you founders. When you think it's tough. But I came to also see that there was this country club of capital that was extremely difficult for people to break into, understand. And I don't know that it's trying to keep people out, but it's definitely a very non-inclusive experience. And I started seeing all the friction in the transactions, and I kept thinking to myself, if blockchain and AI are moving, and this is years ago, if they're moving, this is towards the tail end of me being full-time only as a VC, I said, if we're moving at the speed of AI and blockchain, and it's still taking us a year for an average founder to raise, 9 months for a founder to raise, something is messed up because the speed at which these technologies are evolving should be matched.
Yeah.
And so I actually had to sit down with my VC partners and say, love you guys, love the portfolio you have, let's keep working on it, but will you allow me, to go and build this thing? I cannot sleep. I've got to go find a way to build a funding platform to shift the way that fundraising works. And we learned a lot in that journey. We've had a couple of iterations, but that's kind of really what got it started. And now we're a couple of years into doing that, and we're hundreds of events in. We do about 100 events on the ground in Vegas and Dubai, multiple other locations a year. And then we do about 300 to 400 sessions online every single year.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of at-bats to really learn what works, what doesn't work, and putting founders, framers, and funders together.
That's awesome. I'm going to say a few words. I want you to riff on what they mean to you. What does entrepreneurship mean to you?
Taking something from nothing and creating value for others, and the return is your dreams. The return is you're building character. The return is you're building innovation solutions to serve the planet. I don't think there's any greater calling than being an entrepreneur other than maybe being a father and being a husband and being a good partner and son, daughter to your family. Entrepreneurship is not for everyone. I think there's a difference between small business owners, which I love you guys, And a founder is a special kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And so entrepreneurship is the best possible life. And the reason is that freedom is my favorite word in the English language. And I think that the best way to express yourself as an entrepreneur is through the freedom that we get to have. Not just the freedoms that we should have as human beings, but also the freedoms that we get to create just an incredible life through entrepreneurship. So
I agree with you, and the freedom word comes up actually quite a bit, and I find it interesting because this word came up like in Africa, in Europe when I'm talking to people, and it's a human obviously desire to be free to live and create, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we're here for. What does the word greatness mean to you?
I would imagine that should be really a very personal thing for every person. I don't know that we're meant to come here and just be happy all the time. Now, whether you have faith in a higher God or you just believe that the universe, I hope, has your back, I believe it does. I think that greatness is to be found in a worthy goal and a set of dreams and things that you work towards that you believe have meaning, that you believe create impact. And I think it's in the pursuit of those things, it's in that journey that I think that's happiness, even if through that you go through seasons of sorrow, ups and downs. I mean, the founder journey is so challenging. I can only imagine over the last 11 years and beyond for you, it's lonely, guys. I mean, this is the reason why we build Founders Lives, the reason we build Fusion42, so you have a community, but there are a lot of nights that there's nobody else, it's just you. And that's not how you should be doing it. Definitely connect with community, find the right community, but I think greatness is found in those moments when everybody else is distracted doing other things and they don't understand, and you choose to push forward anyway, you choose to persist. And so to me, that's like really greatness. The people that we're around, that just by being around them, just by hearing them speak, just by their energy walking into the room, you can tell that this is someone that doesn't stop, that continues, and as a result is able to accomplish incredible things. And we're talking with none of the resources, none of the early outliers that should dictate that they were going to be successful, right? And there's many times in history where the most well-resourced, even entrepreneur, didn't make it, and it was the scrappy upstart that got
So what do you
done.
think, knowing many founders and seeing many succeed and many fail, what do you think is that difference? And I want to wrap it into what you just mentioned about greatness, because I'm observing this more and more, and I'm learning a lot more and more about not just like base success as like a founder, but actual greatness, right? And you mentioned like these people don't stop. They are literally like, I believe people are brought here for a specific reason, and it takes time for them to discover that. And once they discover it, then they don't stop. Talk to me about what you've seen as the difference between someone that does discover that and they become successful and ones that don't.
So we could all have our own opinions and perspectives. I'll tell you what I see over and over and over in those that have it. Daniel Goleman might have called it emotional intelligence. He said there's all these different types of geniuses. We think of Einstein as a genius, but is there not spatial genius like Michelangelo? Is there not physical genius like Michael Jordan or Michael Jackson? Is there not all these other types of geniuses? And he says that emotional intelligence is the really great attribute to those that maybe didn't start off in a great place and became the gold medalist. And that's very common the case. The word I would use is I look for owners. I look for those that take ownership. And when I'm investing in a founder, I'm really looking for someone that is coachable and that is a feedback machine. They're taking in feedback, they're deciding what is true, what's useful, what can I take from this, they're being unemotional about it, and they get better and better. If we like the Avengers, we don't get to have all the superpowers, but we do get to be adaptable, and I think adaptation is the most valuable thing. So, but what I really think about the most is those that really get it done at a level that we're just like in awe of. They are complete and total owners. They take ownership of everything. They look at themselves as at cause. They do not look at the lack of resources or this, or I grew up on a dirt floor, or I didn't have the right ideal family environment. They say, I am at cause, and what that means is I create my experience. I am bigger than the circumstances that I am currently under or will be in the future, and that's the reason they're able to achieve what I consider to be greatness. And they get to do it in their way, and by taking ownership, they're taking total responsibility of their experience. And this is not the way that the general world works. I think as a founder, you literally have no excuse. You have no you don't have any time to sit there and feel sorry for yourself. You can have a hard day, and then you got to snap out of it, and it's time to start the day anew, because it's time for a new choice, a new experience. And taking ownership puts us in a place where we can create anything we want. I believe we're all powerful creators. I mean, all of us, we're all powerful creators. It's what are we creating, and are we doing it intentionally or not?
Yeah. When would someone understand and know they've crossed into that space? An identification of that within themselves, maybe an indicator for the people watching. And again, maybe it's like you just know when you know, but is there anything that you've seen or heard that you're like, that's how they like?
Well, what's your natural inclination? Is your natural inclination to find fault? Is your natural inclination to make excuses? Is your natural inclination to look outside yourself? What a lot of the scientists and people much smarter than me would say is, where's your locus, where's your focus of control? Do you believe that the control is you, and you look inside for power and for answers and for opportunity and for resources? Do you see yourself as source to the resources? Or do you naturally always look outside of yourself and say, well, I got to go and get this to make this happen or this happen? Or are you always, your natural inclination, something you can work on, as we can all, is to blame things outside of yourself? The more that we look outside of ourselves, we've seen time and time again, we tend to not be very happy even when we're experiencing difficulty. And the more and more we say, but this, but this, but this, we find it very difficult to be an entrepreneur, because an entrepreneur needs to be a magnet. We need to attract, we need to enroll, we need to become that freight train. Yeah. It's like, are you on board? This is what we're doing, we're moving through. And the beauty of a freight train is once it gets going, I hate to say this, you ever seen a freight train come off the rails? It's not pretty, it's just piling through stuff. And I feel like a founder needs to do that, always picking up momentum, not allowing things to stop them.
You know, I'm going to add to that. I love the fact that you brought up a freight train.
Yeah.
I talk about Founders Live as that. I talk about the tour. It's an absolute bullet train, freight train.
Yeah.
But that analogy is so spot on that, you know, some founders, you might be listening or watching, and you're in year one. And, you know, year one takes a lot of effort to build that momentum, right? It's a heck of a lot of work. When you're at year 10, year 11 of something, a company that you've built, and, you know, for instance, Founders Live, growing around the world, the momentum takes over. And your whole goal as a founder, obviously there's many different things you need to do for your business, but God dang it, you got to get that momentum, because the craziest thing is all of a sudden you'll wake up and you'll be in a place where other people are building your company for you.
Yep.
That's called momentum. Like every single part of the day now, like right now, someone's talking about Founders Live on the other side of the world. It's crazy, right?
It's exciting.
And, you know, same with, you know, Fusion42, and you guys have things going on in Dubai and other places.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful, right? And that's what you want. No matter what business and what you're building, you need to figure out how to create this flywheel where the momentum takes over and you don't feel like you're pushing the boulder every single damn day.
And I just want to connect ownership to enrollment. When you take total ownership, you become the kind of person that other people want to root for, fight for, back, support, rig the game for. And so I really think that one of the jobs that founders have, other than taking tons of feedback in and not being emotional about it, is look at yourself. Do you enroll others into your energy, into your vision, into what you're creating? Are you constantly looking at how you can improve, and that you might be the reason that you're not able to pitch well? You might be the reason that you're not ready to be funded. Founders always tend to want to look outside of themselves. And when we did interviews for the Raise Summit, we did 50 interviews with some of the best fundraisers from all over the world at the last Raise Summit. We got the next one coming up. It was crazy how often founders would ask about the project and never ask the perception of the check writer about themselves. Like, do you think I'm going to make it? Yeah. That's a courageous question to ask.
It is.
And what if you as a founder have that day where they say, no, you're not going to make it, and it's the day that changes everything, because you say, okay, who do I get to be?
Right.
Who do I get to become? Who do I get to become? This is the question that I think is the single most important question that I do not hear founders asking. Who do I get to become? Who do I need to be in order to make all of these dreams and all of these goals reality?
That's powerful. Let's talk a little bit about Fusion42.
Sure.
You know, where is it and what's the vision over the next 5 to 10 years? Where do you want to take it?
Yeah, so we're based in Vegas and in Dubai. So we chose the 2 best desert cities in the world to do stuff. We do a lot of events at the places, LA, San Francisco, Miami, DC, Puerto Rico. Obviously, we do stuff in Dubai every single month. It came from some learning. So the last version of a funding platform we built, we put 900 investors, and I don't mean a list, we called them all. Do you have money? Are you allocating? 900, that's a lot of phone calls. And then put them together with 4,500 startups. And what we found is there's so much more friction in putting founders together with funders. We learned 2 major things with the next build that'll lead us into where we're headed. The first is that founders don't understand what market readiness is. They don't know what it means, and they don't understand it's 80% responsible for their ability to get into market and even to get funded. So what we realized is the funding platform is not going to fix that. We've got to address that earlier in the funnel. The second thing we learned is that investors want to pick the winners. They're talking to 1,000 people a year. They're not going to do the work to help you get market ready. They're not going to help you to understand and to build, before you go raise, before you build a bunch of fancy software, problem fit, do you figure out, does the market want to buy what we have to sell? That's 80% of it. 20% of it is raise readiness, fundraising fluency. Do you know when to play which capital card? So what we realized we had to reconfigure, we have this capital matching engine, but we can't just throw founders at it because they think that they're ready to be funded, but they're miles away from being ready. Their pitch could ruin 20 new investor relationships. And what we found with investors is that 20% of the investors will say, cool, keep throwing it at me, this is the game. But 80% of them at some point say, I'm good. I don't need any more founders that are so far away from reality, I'm not gonna fund them. Not to say any one investor is gonna know if you're gonna make it or not. I want you guys to hear that, founders. However, you will end up talking to usually about 200 to get your 6 or 7 on a per round basis. So where's the future for us? Founder funders is what we're focused on. And so we've got 3 major components. We have community, which we have a Telegram community with over 1,000 founders in it from all over the world. They get real-time feedback and 20 channels from experts. We do sessions and content. We have a global super accelerator program that runs twice a year. We're in the middle of it now. We have 250 founders in there at a time. We'll have more even in the fall. We do the Raise Summit at the end of that. And then every week, come hell or high water, we have Pitch Kung Fu on Thursdays. They have an opportunity to upload a 2-minute pitch into the Danger Room, get refinement 24/7. They get to come to Pitch Kung Fu with real investors every single week. And then once a month, we hold an event where we can also get them funded. But in the background, we're really focused on the second part. So it's content, community, sessions, and events on the front end, with programs that help them move along, which are turning into AI agents, which we've been working on, so we're training that. So that means you have a trainer working you through at the speed you want to move at. You need to crawl, great, we got you. You need to run, great. You want to sprint, okay, we got you. And then the back end is the capital matching engine. I also have a venture studio, so lots of great things happening there. So the vision is we want fundraising to not take 6 months, 9 months. We want it to take 3 to 4 months. We want it to be that the power law is not considered gospel. For those of you guys listening, power law is Silicon Valley's dictating that 98% of all founders need to fail. There's a reason why this is true right now, and it's because founders don't know how to be market ready, which is 80%, and they certainly don't know the fundraising game, which, again, more founders look at capital as a solution than they should probably look at, but when you go to raise, you need to know how to navigate that. So ultimately, we're looking to build something that is its own ecosystem. The reason why Silicon Valley kicks so much ass, there's a lot of reasons, is it's a network effect. All the talent, all the capital, all the resources circle around each other, and it makes it better and it makes it easier to move faster. And iron sharpens iron. We want to create those types of pockets, which is part of what I love about what Founders Live is up to in all the different markets across the planet. And so we too have hubs that are opening up. Egypt just launched, Central America, there's a bunch of places we're working on. So that's a vision of that. The other thing is we want to see more founders have access to the capital market, not just the regular market. And we want to see what the investor market at scale will have to say about a given project. So let's just say you upload your information, you do the deal, and you get 45 investors to look at your investment in a short time frame, and nobody bites. That says something to you. That means it's time to retool. If instead 7 people say, I absolutely want a meeting, then we're starting to create a faster iterative process when it comes to fundraising. So there's a lot that we're working on. The community component is critical because I've learned that a funding platform doesn't make a founder feel like they belong or that they're understood or that they're unique, what they believe to be challenges are solved for organically. That's the reason why we don't just have a software front end. Yeah. We learned that lesson.
What about the founders building startups and companies that are outside the traditional venture capital framework, or are they a venture actual backed startup? And maybe they're not. And so because I see this a lot around the world. Venture capital and raising funds in that direction is one option. It's not the only option. So talk a little bit about it. What you're creating, is it for that, or is it?
Whether you're raising or not, you have to build a market-ready business.
Yeah.
98% of all businesses I know, because I did debt for many, 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 many years, very few businesses ever raise capital, and it's less than 1% of even the startups are successful in raising money round after round. You need to be prepared to build a business that can cash flow and serve your clients without capital. Capital is just an accelerant, and sometimes it's a detriment if you take the wrong. The other thing is we teach founder to be fundraising fluent, and here's what I mean. Where is the capital hiding out, and do you know how to talk to it? Do you know how to do capital discovery? Do you know how to have a front-end conversation that's very direct with the professional investor where they've raised their hand in the market and said, come hit me up, come pitch me? And are you fluent enough to understand how to do capital discovery and define the points that will get somebody excited that is not a check writer every single day, but has the wherewithal to do so? We also explain to founders there's capital macros. These are the things that tend to break inside of a startup as it's growing really fast. And they need to focus on learning what is client and sales capital, what is dollar capital, what's human capital. Those are the large inputs. And then we teach them the capital categories, and then from there it breaks down to 60 different types of capital. Most of which fall outside of traditional venture capital. I'll put it to you guys this way. 3% of the available capital out there, which if we're talking about the United States is around $330 billion a year, less than 3 to 5% is actually venture capital, coming from venture capitalists. So if it's only 3 to 5%, I know your mind should be asking itself, where's the rest of the capital? And so that's what we teach founders, is we teach them that the majority of the capital, trillions, multiple trillions, 5 trillion plus, is sitting in other people's pockets, checkbooks, and bank accounts. And so you need to learn to be fluent enough to understand, okay, how do I stack capital? How do I sequence it? How do I play the game? I believe the game of capital is rigged. You either know how to rig it for yourself or you don't.
Yeah. Well, let's shift into carrying up on that. What one or two big mistakes do you see early stage companies make? And maybe it is in the direction of, trying to raise money so earlier. Look, every founder is like, yep, I need to raise money. And you're like, great, you need to figure a lot more things out.
Yeah.
What do you see the biggest mistakes that founders are making?
So just so everybody knows, I'm a founder that makes mistakes. I make mistakes today. I'm a funder that makes mistakes. I'm a VC that's very honest about the mistakes that I've made in backing certain founders, thinking certain founders were going to make it, not make it, whatever. So very much have learned the hard way, have the cuts, have the scars to prove it. First thing is go back to ownership. Look inside. How often are you looking at yourself as an owner? How often are you looking at yourself as a sovereign individual that truly has the power to create anything you want? And you're honest with yourself and assessing your skills and understanding where you need to improve and where to double down. So that's first. That's kind of, to me, the elephant in the room. Are you somebody that truly, 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 truly takes ownership? Where do you have fixed-minded beliefs that are holding you back, and where are you open and pliable based on feedback that you take in, right? So that's first. Second, the hill I'm willing to die on is market readiness. And founders are like, oh, I'm trying to get product market fit. Do you know what that means? The data shows that on average, most founders do not get to that 18 to 24 months in, which means you're around your Series A. Most of you guys aren't going to make it if you don't figure out what it needs to be done prior. So I want people to think about problem fit, and I want them to think of minimum viable experiment, not minimum viable product or project. Think of it, what's the simplest exercise I can run? A Figma, a Google Doc, where I can test, I can verify, I can validate. This is pre-building a product. Because now, the good news is, we got good news. Good news is what it used to take to do $5 million in tech is now $50,000 in tech. What it used to cost $50,000 in tech is now zero. So you're about to get your ass handed to you by some Indian working on a dirt floor that wants it more than you do because they have nowhere else to go. And the other thing I was going to say to our emerging founders, do it. I don't want you to slow down. Keep kicking ass. Those of us in these countries that have so much more opportunity need to see you out working us, out innovating us, because that's the game, right?
Yeah.
So I think that founders need to understand fundamentally you must check, recheck, demo, verify, validate that you're building something the market wants. To put it simply, do not build it if you cannot sell it. Sell it first before you build it. I'll tell a really interesting story on this real quick. Michael Dell, everybody knows, billionaire, Dell Computers. His initial business plan was this: we will build computers and we will sell them. And then they realized And it was expressed in the way they did just-in-time manufacturing with their computers. We will sell computers, and then we will build them. He's a billionaire. I just can't state it enough. And I come from Utah, where founders tend to be delayed gratification. They're not going to go raise. When you go to raise, this is the third thing I'll mention, is understand that fundraising is a skill set. Understand that it's an education. It's not very transparent out there. So you have to understand, what are the patterns that dictate this, and are you fundraising fluent? A lot of founders are running around watching Shark Tank thinking that they're fundraising fluent. I had somebody that's very experienced, had 3 exits, challenged me on this yesterday. I said, okay, explain to me what capital macros are, tell me what all the capital types are, tell me how you would stack them. And he's like, okay, you got me. I understand what you're getting at. Real quick on capital macros. As a VC, and if you look at Silicon Valley companies, they break very often. I'll give you 3 examples. Client sales capital breaks when you have too many sales and not enough ability to do fulfillment, so you break that supply chain situation. You need to fix something there. That's a good problem to have.
Yep.
Too many sales, not enough ability to fulfill. Number 2 is you're raising capital and you run out of capital because you're growing too fast and you're putting every red cent back into the business. That's a breakage to dollar capital. And third is human and team capital breakdowns. And this is where you hired a COO at 60 people and now you're at 300 and they're not the right person for the job anymore. A great VC or investment partner with you will help you as these things continually break. And what happens is you continue up if you fix them. If you don't fix them, you start to flatline. So as a founder, understand that capital is not as singular as dollars. It starts with client and sales capital. How do you get that early revenue? How do you get the right capital stacked into the business? And by far most important, how do you build an incredible team? Because teams win the championships, and they're your most expensive opportunity and liability if you don't get it right. And this is the way I think all founders need to think about capital raising and fundraising, because you're always selling to clients, you're always raising capital, and you're always recruiting to build the best team.
Nailed it. Let's shift to Vegas.
Yeah. Vegas, baby.
Vegas, baby. What a city.
It's the best.
I've been here many times.
Of course.
As you know, but it's been fun week. What does Vegas mean to you?
Yeah. We're the best at hosting in the world, and I think that's what we need to double down on. We're known for excess and entertainment. We deserve it. But I think we can also be known for innovation and entrepreneurship as well. I look at markets. We deeply study ecosystems, what's working, what's not working. Vegas is representative of kind of we're like a cowboy state. We're a bunch of mavericks over here. We got a lot of money that moves here because they want to be left alone once they're successful. So there's a lot of quiet money. There's a ton of family office money here. I'm from Utah, so I do get to see what some really fast-moving, high-functioning teenager age ecosystems operate like. We're an infant here in Las Vegas. Here's what's beautiful about that. If you're someone who needs to be handheld, this is not probably the place for you. There's other ecosystems that have more to offer as far as that. But if you're a visionary founder, if you're somebody that also wants to be a community builder, if you're someone that wants to really get involved in understanding how to attract resources because of the difference you make as a visionary founder and a community builder, I think Vegas is one of the best markets in it because there's no competition. Everybody's distracted by the glitz and glamour, and you kind of have to be a hustler.
Yeah.
And not in a bad way in Vegas. And I just think, another thing, as an investor, I get to see what the heads of state, we have 4,000 conventions a year. I get to see what all of the best at the top of these verticals, the largest brands in the world, and I get to break bread with them on the Strip. And I can tell you, from 13 years of being here, breaking bread on the Strip, I can tell you that deals get done here. Billions of dollars of deals get done here every single week over dinner, which is the reason I have like 3 dinners a night. And Vegas doesn't get credit for any of that. So if you're smart and you're looking for channel partners, you should be coming here to resource up your startup, even if you're not going to be based here. Cost of living's inexpensive. It's close to California, Utah, Colorado, Arizona. And here's one last thing I'll just mention. Super key for those of you that love to network and understand business development. I'm in LA. I can't drive to see you for 15 minutes. Sorry, Kurt. I'm in Miami. I'm in New York. Same experience. I'm in Vegas. They're like, I'll be there next week. And so it's this thing where people tend to relax, which is a very conducive environment for breaking bread and doing deals.
Yeah.
And that's what I found to be true here. So again, even if you're not going to move here, Vegas should be part of your strategy.
What do you see in like 10, 15 years for Vegas in the greater ecosystem of the tech and the innovative world?
I don't know everything, but and a couple of years ago I wouldn't have said this, but I think that there's 5 major verticals that the state can really set ourselves apart for that I'm willing to kind of cast a vote for. Hospitality and gaming, obviously. Obviously. Number 2 is sports tech, sports health, Sports, all that. We're now a sports city. Number 3, I think, is medical. I think we have some big opportunities with UNLV, and so I'm excited about that. Number 4, as an EV investor, I do believe we're the only state in the country with a full lithium supply chain from Reno all the way down here. So I see that. And then the 5th one, and I'm probably the only one that's talking about this, tell me there's a better city than Las Vegas to be creating content. I believe that content is the future here in Las Vegas. Now I have a lot to back it up because we have Warner Brothers and Sony, but I get more excited about what can happen for independent entrepreneurs, content creators, and founders that want to leverage content to create top of funnel awareness and backing and support and community for the projects that they're launching.
Vegas, baby.
Vegas.
I don't know if you were prepared for this, but I know that you interview and talk with a lot of people.
Sure,
and I'm flipping the table.
Okay.
Anything you want to ask me or chat about with me?
Yeah, I think the main thing I want to know, community builder to community builder, because it's like pushing a damn school bus up a hill for the first couple of years. What really drives you? 150 markets, you guys are in all these cities, 11 years in. What really drives you and sustains you in doing this thing across all these markets? Because I am one of probably the few people that really understands how challenging that is.
Yeah.
So share with us, like, what initially really inspired you to do it and what sustained you?
You know, this is gonna be, there's a lot of things, there's a lot of things that flow through the head, but I would say the first one is, I travel around the world, not only it fascinates me, like, it's just like, why would we not want to like go see these countries?
Yeah.
But I look entrepreneurs in the eye, and they are deserving of a great life and success just as you and I are.
100% agree with that.
And I think that just as a human, that just drives the hell out of me, man. And we're not here trying to save the world, but we're here to create these ecosystems to help them just have a better life, and more importantly, solve the problems that they have in their country and their society. Right. And it's like a disease. I just have it, and I can't let it go now. And that's what drives me, because I'm happy in my life. I'm not ever at the place I want to be, but I want those individuals, whether it's in Nairobi, Kenya, it's in Indonesia, Scotland, or here in Las Vegas in the United States. I want everyone to have the opportunity to pursue their dreams. And by the way, we all win. Yeah, you realize that?
Yeah.
You realize that we all win because they're creating awesome things for us to use?
Yep.
That's what fucking drives me.
Yeah, there's no scarcity here. It's them winning makes us more successful to win. Them being a billionaire or whatever it is makes us more likely to have it. That's what sometimes I think some people don't quite get, is you want to see everybody around you winning, because it just means you're more likely to win too.
And honestly, the other fun thing is, you mentioned freedom, and this life is just like, why would I not live this? And so. It's like once you get to a point where exercise-wise or fitness-wise, you're like, I can go around 3 to 5 miles, and why would you not? Because you feel good about that. It's the same thing for me getting up. Is like, to me, it's just like a good, refreshing run, and good days working hard, and you see your business move forward, and you get that email or you get that text where you're just like, that's where it clicks, where you have impacted this person's life.
I got one more.
And there is one beautiful thing.
I'm gonna cheat and ask one more question. Yeah. So I believe purpose is an excellent alarm clock. Like, if you don't have the fire in your belly, if you can't see that Nick and I are pretty fired up about what we get to do every day, find that fire. And I think that's going to be found in your purpose. And purpose is going to be connected to the impact that you really want to make in the world. Nothing feels better than making income that's aligned with impact.
Yep.
So what's your purpose?
My purpose is to, just leave this world a better place than I found it. And I was afforded opportunity. Now, what I do with that opportunity is my job.
Yep.
But unfortunately, around the world, there's a lot of people that aren't afforded even opportunity. Okay. And I'm not trying to like save the world, but I think it became my realization that my purpose is to do whatever I can to unwind the things that are holding our ecosystem and humans back so they have opportunity. That's it. What they do with that opportunity is their job.
Right.
It's their purpose.
Yeah.
But that's it, man. I don't know. Like, I don't have words. It's hard. That is a hard question, man. you know, purpose is a lifelong discovery, but I think I found it is I at least had opportunity, and I want to give everyone else.
Love it. Let's keep doing more of it, buddy.
Well, thanks, man.
All right.